So then we go to the next card, and the next card is the Empress card. And the Empress card again is the Earth Mother. And so in The Wizard of Oz, who is the Earth Mother? Auntie Em. So Auntie Em is the Earth Mother. She represents home, you know, and stability and love and safety and security and affection and all those beautiful things that the Divine Feminine is. So what's really cool when you look at this card is that if you pull this card to the right, and then you've got the Emperor card next to it, you'll notice that those two are facing each other. So that's that little clue that they're interconnected. Okay? And so when you look at her, the color, of course, is this beautiful pink. So pink is a very love symbol. It's sweet. It's, again, a heart chakra color. But there's also this green, which is for healing and heart chakra. So we've got all these heart chakra colors. And you've got white, which is about crown chakra and spirituality. And you've got blue, which is about truth and clarity. So notice that you've got, like, heart, throat, third eye, and you know, you've got just like, it's all this, you know, it's this whole chakra system from the heart chakra up, the triad, the upper triad. Notice that she's got a shield. So she's got a shield that's protective with two white eagles. Okay, so two white eagles. Again, eagles are raptor birds, clear-sighted, protective, great flight, great soaring ability, great capacity to have overview. And then next to her, and next to the shield, is a pelican. Now I know this looks like a swan, but it's a pelican. And so that's a really important distinction to remember, because in the mythology in the Middle East, a pelican, what it was doing, but they didn't know that, so they created a mythology. But what a pelican does is it goes and it eats fish, and then it goes to the babies and it regurgitates the dead fish. So what happens though is that it's got that big bill, right? So as it regurgitates it, all this blood and guts from the fish guts run down the body of the pelican. So the mythology around the pelican in African tradition and Egyptian tradition was that the pelican was literally coughing up, regurgitating its own blood, its own life force to feed its babies, which was this tremendous selfless reflection of the feminine, that the feminine literally is giving its own blood to nurture the babies. I mean, its own life force to nurture the babies. So it's a strong metaphor for the power of the feminine, the absolute total sacrifice that the feminine is willing to give for its children. So notice there's little baby pelicans and down below. And notice that the front of her looks kind of pink, which is supposed to represent the blood being regurgitated from the fish. Okay. Then below all of that, you'll see these fleur-de-lis. Okay, and a fleur-de-lis down at the bottom are definitely the image of royalty. She's got a chalice in her hand. It's a flower chalice, which again represents the feminine and the, you know, the feminine body and the opening of the vagina and all of that. She's got symbols on her clothing which show her royalty and her power. She's got a crown on top of her where she's holding the world, which is a circle. She's holding a world above her head with the symbol of the cross, which again is a symbol of power and authority. And she's got these little birds. These little birds are the symbols of Aphrodite. So sparrows and little tiny birds are all symbols of Aphrodite, which is again love and innocence and intimacy and beauty and all that kind of thing. And then you've got the waxing and the waning moon, which shows the full cycle of the feminine. Okay? I think that's all the symbols in there.
So if someone drew this card, what would you say to them?
Perfect. If somebody draws this card, it means that they're working on self-nurturing. They're working on loving themselves, or they're dealing with issues relating to taking care of themselves, meaning that did they have a great mother or did they not have a great mother? Have they learned how to feed themselves properly or have they not learned how to feed themselves properly? Do they know how to love themselves? Do they know how to love others and share that love with others? So when somebody gets this card, the first thing I always say is, are you nurturing yourself? Are you taking care of yourself? Are you feeding yourself properly? Are you doing what you need to do? How's your mother? How are you mothering yourself? How are you as a mother? Are you mothering your children well? So you can imagine if this card was upside down, again, it would mean what?
The opposite.
Right. So they weren't nurturing themselves, they weren't mothering themselves, they weren't taking care of themselves. But again, sometimes you'll still ask the question even when a card is right side up. Okay? So, so when I look at this card, for me, this is kind of like, as babies evolve, they learn certain things. So let's say the Fool card again is that baby born. It's innocent, wide-eyed and bushy-tailed, totally excited about life, and it just thinks everything is grand, is the world is its oyster kind of thing. And then what does a baby have to learn how to do? Communicate. Now, communication at first to a baby is crying and pooping and, you know, screaming and laughing, and, you know, that's the first communication of a baby. Then the baby, you know, is paying attention to the little guides, the little baby guides, and is paying attention to this metaphysical, spiritual world, and babies are really dialed into that kind of spiritual world. And then what is the first word a baby usually says?
Mama.
Mama, this card. Okay, so that's that developmental level of your brain as you move in and say, Mama, which is like, you know, I want love, I want affection. And you learn about love through your mother. You learn about selflessness through your mother, you know, because God knows your mother is exhausted and tired. And, you know, but, you know, you're exhausted and tired, but the baby's crying. I mean, you know, you can't not go take care of the baby, you know, even when you're exhausted, right? So it's that whole process of selfless serving. And, you know, you don't have a child to be selfish, right? You know, you have a child to give back and to express love. That's what you learn, okay? So notice at the bottom of this card, at the very bottom, there's the symbol of Venus, you know, which is again the symbol of Aphrodite. Aphrodite is the, you know, Roman version and Venus is the Greek version, right? So then you go to the next card, and so a baby, the first word it learns is mama, and the second word it learns is
Dada.
Dada. Okay, so what we've got here is we've got the Emperor card, and notice this color is a very distinctly different color. So what is this color?
Red.
Red. Okay, so what is the color red? What chakra?
Root chakra.
Root chakra. Okay, so our father, well, I should say it like this. Classically, when these cards were developed, okay, in the 1100s, so think of the Knights Templar, the Crusades, during that period, the masculine was what?
Man.
The protector, okay? Like in ancient times, if you were a woman and you didn't have a man, you were as good as dead, because women were physically smaller and weaker than men in ancient times. And then when you're having all these babies and pregnant, you're losing bone mass and muscle mass, and your body needs a whole bunch more of that. I mean, women today are much healthier than they've ever been ever. So like if you go to a third world country, you will see women that don't have vitamins and all this kind of stuff. And by the time they're 35, they have no teeth because all their calcium in their body goes to babies. And these women look like they're 60 when they're 35 because their body is just debilitated from trying to get all the nutrition it needs to take care of babies and feed babies, okay? So that you needed a big, strong man to protect you in the ancient times. Now that's not true anymore. So what happens in modern culture is that whereas the empress could be your mother, your physical mother, you could have in this culture a mother that's an emperor, because how many single moms are out there, right? And so, you know, she's got two hats on now, you know, so she's the woman that's like, you know, she's going to work and she's creating the rules. But in ancient times, the emperor card was the rules of the family. Because in old days, what did your mother used to say? You just wait until your father gets home. We'll see what happens when your father gets home, right? Because what does the masculine typically do? It's the master of the rules of the home, typically. Okay, but again, not so much anymore, because you've got women that are that now. Okay, so you can have a woman that they're, I'll say, was your father like this? And they're like, no, but my mother was, kind of thing. And so, we've got this fuzzy line now, but you have to remember that these are qualities of a pathway. And so a baby has to learn the rules of the family. There are rules, no, you can't come in after 10 o'clock at night when you're 12 years old. No, you have to go to bed at 9. No, it's like that masculine protective energy that's the best. Now in the highest form, this card is like a King Arthur. So he's a just, fair, noble ruler that's generous and kind. But at the bottom, you'll see that there's the symbol of Aries. And notice the rams in the card, which are the symbol of Aries. Okay, so there's all this Aries symbol everywhere. And Aries is a very strong masculine symbol. Okay, like it's cardinal fire. It's like, right, it's this very boom kind of thing. And notice at the bottom there's a lamb with a flag, because the masculine claims its territory. It's like, no, this is my family, this is my land, this is my water, you can't have it, I am protecting my clan, I'm protecting my tribe, I'm protecting my people, right? And so it's going to claim a territory because you have to survive, right, in ancient times. So this card represents, that notice, he's got the power of the ram, he's got the authority, he's got a staff that's even a ram. But he really wants to be the lamb with the flag. He really doesn't want, he will fight if he has to fight, but he'd rather just claim the territory and be a just, fair, noble ruler that's generous and kind. Okay, but if you mess with him, he's going to fight. Okay, he doesn't want to fight all the time, but he will fight. He's strong enough that he will fight, and so sometimes just the bluff of all that power is enough to prevent anybody from fighting. So in ancient times, the men that were the leaders were the biggest warriors, right? They were just the biggest warriors. So I don't know if anybody's ever been to the Armory in England, in London, but it was amazing to me to see Henry VIII's armor. What most people don't know is Henry VIII was 6'7". This guy was huge, and he was big. It's just like the armor's like this. It's this huge bit of armor. So he was the king because he was the biggest guy. Absolutely the biggest guy. So he had that power and authority. So size mattered just from sheer bluff, just from the force of the power of the size of somebody, okay? So again, if you look at this card, his legs are in the symbol like this. What is this? It's a number.
Figure 4.
It's the number 4, okay? So the number 4, notice in this room, 1, 2, 3, 4. You have 4 walls, okay? 4 is the symbol of stability, stable houses. Even in Peru, they use trapezoids, because the earthquakes, so the walls are inward like this. But that's still 4. There's still 4 of those going inward. So 4 is the symbol of homes.